Oh, that's a funny name. Okay, time for e4. Let's play e4. It plays the Philidor defense. And takes. Yeah, I think that's the way they play it these days. Just giving up the center, as they used to say. Black still has a small center, so it's not really giving up the center. At least in my opinion. But they call it giving up the center. You can play with c5, kicking the knight. Fianchettoing the bishop, that's an interesting way to play too. It's one of those quiet positions where you're hoping your opponent doesn't have so much experience in the position, and you'll get a decent result here. Why don't I put the bishop out on a active square here, looking at f7. Got the space advantage. Let's see if I can use it. It's funny. I could castle, and if he takes the pawn, I could put the rook here. And yeah, I think that's winning. Let's see. I kind of want to castle anyway, so. Now he attacks the knight. So this is still defended by the threat of the rook here. So should I just put the knight back? The knight can come out to g5 from this square, and looking at f7 along with the bishop might be interesting. Okay, this is kind of asking for it, isn't it? I mean, so I take here with jack. If he takes with the king, then I can bring the knight here with check. He moves the king, and then I take the bishop. But the problem with that is that he could take with the queen. So I take here with check. He takes with the queen. I take here with the. I go here with the knight, attacking his queen. He takes my queen. I take his queen. He takes my knight. I take his bishop. He's a piece up. So it doesn't work. Let's just kick the bishop. Just gotta check each time that he still can't take the pawn here. Okay, well now my queen is defending the pawn, and I am looking at this square, which is defended, so maybe it's something. So I'm thinking that c3 might be a good idea. I wanted to play it anyway to kind of shut down the bishop, but also now it shuts down the knight from going to those squares. So the knight goes there. Yeah, that's true. If he takes my bishop, I'll be sad, but but it's a good knight he's giving up too, so maybe it's not such a big deal. But if he doesn't take it, I'll probably drop back just to save the bishop. And then continue with my development. The knight can be kicked later with f4, so I'm not worried about the knight staying on that square forever and being a monster piece. So he decides not to take right away, but to put more pressure on the pawn. Yeah, I want to defend the pawn now. And I don't want to defend it with the knight because that'll block in this bishop. So I guess, oh, well, it's defended by the queen. It is defended by the queen. So if he plays, well, he plays knight takes bishop, queen takes bishop, knight takes pawn. I put the rook here. Then he maybe has to give the piece back, but I'll lose a pawn in the process. Is that still good for me, though? Well, say I drop the bishop back. Then he doesn't have any great... yeah, let's just drop the bishop back. Then he doesn't have any great moves with this knight, which suddenly unveil an attack on this pawn. If the knight takes, I'll just take. If the knight comes here with check, I take the knight. So that doesn't work. So he just castles. So now it's getting serious that he might be taking this pawn, but let's get the dark squared bishop out first. Could go here. Potentially removing one of the pieces that's attacking the e-pawn, so it seems good. I suppose I could have considered playing f4 even there, but I want to get my pieces out. So the knight, I guess, is coming to d7, maybe to f6. But after knight d7, then f5 starts to look real good. Also, rook, putting rooks to the central files there looks like a good idea in this position too. But I got to start with knight d7 to clear the back rank so the rooks can move. Well, N9. I wonder how you're supposed to pronounce that name. Now I could bring the knight out, and also it's a developing move, and it also defends the pawn. Now I can take his knight. He still is interested in taking my bishop. He didn't take it before, but it seems like he's still interested in it. Yeah, let's take that knight. Okay, so this is adequately defended at the moment, although my queen is... I was going to say, maybe he could take advantage of the pin by pushing this pawn forward, but my bishop can take it. Takes the bishop first, then pushes the pawn forward. Possibly. So let's defend the queen, so the pawn is no longer pinned. You know, I could have dropped my bishop back again. But it's on kind of a good square, this good diagonal. Let's see if he wants to take it. You have a choice, actually. You kind of automatically want to take with the pawn here to open up a file for your rook. But it's possible I could take with the knight, because the knight has a square on d4 it wants to go to. It could be kicked away from d4. Yeah, I think better to just take the knight out to f6 here, the normal way. He's really focused on the pawn. How about stepping aside with the queen, so there's not a pin there so much. So we've got a knight versus a bishop. These pawns on dark squares can be targets for the bishop. The pawns on light squares aren't targets, but they are aren't targets for the bishop, but they may be in the way. The pawns on the dark squares also keep the bishop from reaching certain squares. They control more squares, so whereas the pawns on light squares don't affect the bishop at all. So knight f6 would defend my rook. And this is still adequately defended. Where would the knight go from f? Where does the knight really want to be? The knight might want to go to this square. And knight f6 doesn't help it get there. Okay, but he's kicking the knight. So let's go ahead and move it. It puts the bishop there. Interesting. So I could push this pawn forward. If the pawn takes, I'll take with the rook. If he pushes the pawn forward, I can take that pawn. Kind of like that as a way to activate my rook. And that pawn was starting to become somewhat of a liability. I had to keep finding ways to defend it. Yeah, so I assume he's going to take, right? If he pushes, that just loses a pawn. He could let me take, but yeah. He would have to find a move. I guess he could give up his queen for rook and knight. Usually not a good trade. So he goes that way. So I was thinking I would move my rook at this point. Maybe here. Maybe I should try and take over the light squares. Since he doesn't have a piece that can, a minor piece. He doesn't have a minor piece that can defend on the light squares. Could maybe drop my queen back here and get a rook to the 7th rank. Might be interesting. And then knight here to attack on f7 again. So he takes a look at that pawn. Yeah, let's go ahead and defend here. So queen d3, rook d7, knight, well, knight there or there. Those are both covered still. Maybe rook, instead of queen d3 first, rook d7 first. I'm ganging up on this pawn. Now if he moves his rook over to defend, which I think he has to, then I can bring my knight in here. Rook f8. Rook f8, knight to e5. could do something to oppose my queen at that point, but I think still this is in the right direction. The pawn is pinned, can't be defended. Maybe his queen can't oppose my queen. Can't go here, here, here. Okay, so he's just sacrificing here. Well, it's not a sacrifice. If I take, and he'd take with check and then take my knight. So how about if I take here, though? Let him take my pawn, and then I'll move my king away, and then there's a pretty deadly discovered check here against his king. So from a material point of view, this is even, but I think my attack is going to be stronger than his. He's just got the queen and the bishop in the attack, and I have a queen, rook, and knight over here. Yeah, but he does control this diagonal. Not easy for me to get in. Well, knight to g5 will set up a discovered check, and then the king goes here, the rook over here is mate. Rook h7 is mate. Knight g5, rook h7. So he goes there. Yeah, he puts the king on a dark square. So I can move this with check. But where's the best discovery? Here, 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 or here. Probably here. I mean, I can grab another pawn, but I think if the queen comes over, it's not mate. The bishop guards that square. Very tempting looking move there. Should I go ahead and take the pawn? Check. King takes here. Queen here, check. King goes back, and I don't see a mate. I've got a rook to bring over, but I don't see a mate. Okay, pawn up, then he'll bring his rook over to defend. And what do I play? Then the knight check. So I guess this is the best move. That just is mate. Yep. All right. Well, that was a nice game. So I'm going to upload this and do a postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.